So to change the oil in a Chevrolet pickup truck, 1500 series with the 5.3, it's quite very easy. You'll need a 3-inch oil filter wrench. You'll need a 15mm socket, a ratchet, or a wrench, whatever. The oil filter, which in this case it takes a PF48 or UPF48, whichever. And then you'll need something to drain the oil in. So that the oil drains faster out of the truck, it's better that it's warm first. It doesn't have to be warm, but the truck should be warm. Pull off the gas or the oil filter cap, and I always pull up on the dipstick just so that air can get in there and the oil can escape faster. Before I get out of the car, I always go ahead and put oil around the gasket, and I will fill this up with oil. Now, why would you fill this up with oil? Oil's going into this thing one way or the other, and it's better that the truck start with some oil in the oil filter because that's where the pickup is coming from. So it's not a bad reason not to put oil in this. There is no reason not to put it, especially when the oil filter sits exactly like this. If the oil filter sat like this, I would not be putting oil in it because it will escape before I can get it onto the filter housing where it goes. But since the oil filter sits like this, fill it with oil. So we have oil in our filter, and it's got oil around the gasket. So right here is our drain plug. Notice the direction of the drain plug. It is facing to the passenger side of the truck. Therefore, I lay my oil drain pan in the same direction because the oil is going to split out and land into the pan. If it's like this, you don't have as much room as you do when it's like this. So I put it in the direction of the plug. So our ratchet is on there. It is in the loosening position, and we're about to break it loose. I also always have a rag with me because this is going to get messy. No way around it. Have a rag. So while the oil is draining, I will go ahead and unloosen this when the oil gets close to falling directly under the oil. It's no longer splattering right there. So I will move my drain pan under so I can undo the oil filter. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. That way both can be draining at the same time, thereby saving us some time. So this is a 3-inch oil filter wrench, and I have found that it's the only thing to get inside these Chevrolets. I bought a wrench that fits right over this and use a socket, but it's too fat to go around the edge. These band clamps is really the best one, and this is a 3-inch band clamp oil filter wrench. So all we're going to do is tighten her up and start the loosening process. Now, let's let it drain into the pan. One thing to note, you need to make sure that the gasket comes off with your oil filter. I have had it happen to me before where the gasket was left on, and I put a new oil filter on top, tightened it down, and drove down the road, and oil was splattering everywhere. That's because the old gasket didn't come off like I had thought with the old filter, and then almost a catastrophe, but I caught it in time. Anyway, just be careful. The gasket comes off with the old filter. With our new filter, just putting it on, screwing it righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. We're going righty-tighty. I'm gonna get my tool, oil wrench tool, and we're gonna tighten that down. Okay, she's on, good and tight. I don't know a torque spec, and it doesn't matter because I have a band clamp oil filter wrench, so there's no way to hook that up to a torque wrench. But it doesn't have to be overly tight, like metal to metal contact and tight. There's a rubber gasket there for a purpose. You're just going to make it good and tight. Okay, oil is stopped dripping enough. Just want to tighten up, righty-tighty. Same thing with this. We're just going to make sure it's good and tight. So the next thing we want to do is we want to stage our oil funnel. Unless you're a good aim, I am not. We need an oil funnel. And let's put in our 6 quarts of fluid. So YouTubers, that's it. Everything's buttoned up. Put in the 6 quarts, put back on my cap, close my dipstick, and I'll put a note in my book log that I have in the truck. And that's it. Oh, one other thing, I'll put a sticker up in the top dash. For me, I do it every 3,000 miles, period. I don't care what others do. For $35, including the filter, it's cheap insurance to go ahead and change the oil. Not as least as often, but as often as often. Anyway, YouTubers, hope you like the video.